Oh, hello. Welcome to the strangest open house of your student's high school career. All jokes aside, welcome to open house. I thought it was appropriate to start with Mr. Rogers today because, after all, he was one of our country's first virtual teachers. So these days, we're virtual, we're in person, and we're everything in between. So, welcome to Open House. My name is Doug Sekorski, and I welcome you to the Math Fam. I know that's kind of weird, the Math Fam, but this year we need to be a family, and it's going to be a strange year, but one thing's for sure, we are going to learn and we're going to grow. So, I just want to start off by saying hello, introducing myself. I'm Doug Sekorski. Most of the students call me Mr. Ski, which is totally fine with me. And this is my 6th year here teaching at Conard. I've never taught anywhere else, and I don't really plan on going anywhere else. So I love it here. I'm a UConn grad, graduated in 2015, and I live in a small town about half an hour that way called Terryville. And if you have talked to your student at all or have had the pleasure of meeting you before, you probably know I have a pretty big passion for learning and teaching. I know that sounds pretty nerdy, but it's truly one of the things I knew I wanted to do from a very young age. So some days some days are good, some days are bad, but I really find myself lucky to be teaching. So another thing I'm interested in is math mindset, and not going to really get too much into this, but one of the things that interests me is figuring out how kids see math and how they think about learning math. So I'm really focused on trying to make sure I can help the kids find a work ethic that works for them. And due to the weekly structure of our class, some students are taking an assignment by assignment approach. Others just sit down for 2 hours and they zoom through the entire week's coursework. So I'm interested in helping your student find what works for them. Outside of the classroom, I am pretty active in the Conard community. I'm a volleyball coach. I coach the women's team in the fall for JV, and I teach the JV, not teach, coach the men's team in the spring. And currently, I'm still an active volleyball player myself. I have a couple focuses this year, and not that these aren't my focuses in other years, but I'd say the ranking has changed because first and foremost this year, I'm just interested in the overall well-being of your student. I want them to be academically succeeding, but also just I want to know emotionally that they're doing well. I'm not going to interrogate them, but I'm also not going to ignore if I notice that they're really having a bad day. I want to be there in the ups and the downs because that's what high school is. But that being said, I really want to try and reignite their excitement for learning. Some folks and some of my students say that their excitement, their flame for learning is low right now. So I want to try and refire that love for learning. And if they didn't have it originally, I want to try and help them find it. And speaking of finding that, the rich curriculum this year is not changing. And I say rich because some folks think that just because I'm seeing the kids every other day and sometimes in person and sometimes not, that somehow the content is going to lower itself and it's going to become a little bit watered down. But I'm here to tell you that I actually think in some ways my discrete math curriculum is getting even better because there's an online component and we have an in-person component. So I can take certain portions of the course and of an individual chapter, and I'm going to do the things that are more suited for online in the online environment, and I'll do the in-person stuff where I say, I really think the kids need this in the school, in the classroom. So we're not going to go out of order, but I may decide to change up class a little bit based on if they're online or in person that day. And as you can probably tell, I'm very flexible with all of this because we're dealing with the unknown at times, and being flexible with things like due dates and uh, you know kids needing a little bit different set of directions in terms of, okay, how do you do this assignment? Well, all right, let's rework it to fit this model a little better. So I'm very flexible with the kids, making sure that I set them up for success. Now, in terms of logistics for discrete math, I don't really know where to put myself here. Okay, that works. We have 4 major course units, and right now we're going over voting methods. And I know you might think, well, how do you spend a whole unit on voting? We actually examine what voting might look like if we decided to rank choices or candidates or what have you, instead of just choosing this person or this person. Really relevant, as you can imagine, because we have a big election coming up. But the voting methods chapter is a nice intro to the course because it's not too mathematically strenuous, but it exposes the kids to a lot of great ideas about representation and what is a way to represent the consensus, or what we're not really looking into the presidential election too deeply. We're really using some other data that I've collected throughout the years or from our textbook, and we're taking a critical eye at voting. So that's the first chapter. The second chapter is apportionment. I won't get into the gory details, but basically we figure out the mathematics behind the Electoral College, and we figure out why is it that Connecticut only has 7 electoral votes and California has 50 plus? What happened mathematically to make that happen? And what kinds of decision making went into those processes? We actually have had countless different ways we've apportioned, and we'll finish that unit by looking at the actual method we use today. Now, the financial topics, the financial chapter is probably what I would call the kids' favorite chapter after the end of the course, because we go through loans, mortgages, we talk about saving money, we talk about lump sum investing. So a lot of topics that aren't in your traditional math class that I think are really important for the kids to know. And we end not the year, just the semester. We end the semester with probability and statistics, which is kind of strategic because many of them are going to be taking Prob and Stat next semester. Okay, so it is a 1 semester course. We're not going to be together a full year, most likely, although I am teaching one section of the Prob and Stat next semester. In terms of assignments, we're going to have 2 assignments per week. Every once in a while we might have a third, but I'm going to shoot for having 1 homework assignment that's practice. So it's going to get marked correct, and it will be, I will correct it, but in the grade book, it will go in as a 5 out of 5. They completed the assignment. The second assignment is usually going to be some type of graded check-in or assessment, just to see if they really got the topic for that particular week. Okay. The instruction, organization, and grading, oh my. Just a couple little notes here. The class organizer is really the central hub for their outline and for their week. So this is an example of the week 1 organizer, and it just goes through what we're going to talk about. And sometimes I'll fill in some notes with them here, and other times I'll make videos available to them. So you can see that there is a YouTube video right here on the Borda's method of voting. Right? So I go over different methods, and I'll be going over this stuff in class, but what I like about providing them with the videos is that if they need a second look at that particular skill, they have that available to them as a resource. Some of the videos are from the spring, and other videos I'm making in the moment for them right after class. If I notice that something really wasn't, they weren't really getting it, then I go back and I make another video for that, because I only see them every other day, and sometimes I'm not even seeing them until the virtual session in the afternoon. So this is kind of like the discrete math learning universe. We're making sure that they have access to all the material and any help they could possibly need. Okay. The Google Classroom is something you've probably heard about a ton, because this may or may not be the 4th video you're watching, 5th, 6th, 7th, could be the 8th, but you'll hear a lot about Google Classroom in these videos. Mainly, I use Google Classroom to make sure that they have an updated to-do list. If you look on here's a sample page. Right up in the top, it will say upcoming, due today, due tomorrow. So the kids will have a way of knowing what is expected of them on any given day or week. The Google Meets also happen through Google Classroom. Now, Power School, if you see a 0 in your students' grades, don't fear. That 0 can be replaced and restored to full credit. I want them to do the practice, right? So I don't want zeros to start bringing their grade down and just sit there. I'm going to allow kids right up until the assessment to make up any homeworks that they may need to do. So A, we learn the topic, but B, we can raise your grade. So my bottom line there is I want them to practice. Okay. The grading for this course is by total points, so students can understand the importance of each assignment. The homeworks are about 5 to 10 points. The mini lessons or mini projects might be 10, 15, and quizzes might be anywhere from 20 to 30, maybe even 40 points. So based on how important something is, you'll notice the point value. And you just saw you saw one YouTube instructional video made by me, and that's going to be the case for all semester long. We'll have different videos. So tell the kids to subscribe if they want, or just follow the links in their organizer. Okay, so that's all the time I've got for you today. I probably went over the 5 minutes because I like to talk, and I apologize for that. But hopefully you have a good idea or a rough idea of what discrete math is like. And welcome to the Math Fam. I will hopefully meet you soon, whether it's virtual or maybe sometime in person. All right. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you happen to be listening to this. See you soon.